Hi everybody, Giselle Grenier here from artplace.ca. In today's video, I'm just going to give you a very quick overview on ATCs, which are artist trading cards. Now, what I'm going to be showing you in this video is basically how I do things, and the process that I use basically doesn't just apply to ATCs. It can be anything, and I'll show you that closer to the end. This will be a quick little video. I'm not going to actually do any techniques, but I just want to show you the process. So when you're creating artist trading cards or art minis or postcards, you really can use anything. The thicker the better though, but you can always take something very, very thin and add gesso to make it thicker. So for some of my materials that I'm going to be doing some ATCs on in future lessons, LCBO bag. This is a bag, wine bag from the LCBO. And you just cut it up into small pieces and gesso them up. ATCs are 2.5 inches by 3.5 inches. And although I don't believe it should be perfect, sometimes I will make my cards a little bit smaller if I have embellishments that overlap, such as if I'm using fiber or material that overlap, and that usually will make it around 2.5 by 3.5. So you can use paper bag, and even with this, because it's thin, gesso it, or just glue two pieces together. Packaging. So the packaging, these are from energy and protein bars. Okay, just cut the packaging, cut it down into small pieces, and you can choose just to cut it whatever, or sometimes I like to cut them so I utilize these shapes as part of my background. So you can use this side or this side. Okay. I didn't have to, this was already there, it's just packaging, so I didn't have to go out and spend money at the art store for heavy cardstock. Scrapbook paper. All these little bits and bobs that you have left over, scrapbook paper, cardstock, all that other stuff makes for great ATCs. Just cut them up 2.5 by 3.5. And you won't be able to see this. So scraps of watercolor paper. This is cold press, which is rough. And then this is mixed media paper. This is Terraskin. So all scraps left over, I don't throw anything away. If it's bigger than that, I put it in one container. If it's smaller, it goes in another container, which I use to create minis, which I'll show after. The back of this is a Royal Essentials drawing pad. So the back, and look how thick that is. Okay, so you can cut that up. This will you'll have to measure out and use an X-Acto knife. Okay, and corrugated cardboard. This is from a box I got from DecoArt. You can use that as well. And then when I trim everything down, I cut them up into pieces. I have another little container with all the scraps. What do I do with the scraps? Well, these make for great little collage pieces for texture. You don't have to buy the stuff. So that makes for a good stencil, or, just put that onto a side, put some gesso over that and rub some paint. Makes for great pieces. So you have all your pieces cut out. Now what do? Well, this is where the fun begins. Okay. And let me just get the other container. So what I do, oh goodness, when I do these in blitzes, so I'll cut out all my pieces in blitzes, which means usually I'll do this in the evening where I don't want to get into an actual project, but I do want to do something in the studio. I'll sit down and I'll either cut all my pieces, and then in another session I'll do all the gessoing, and another session then I'll organize them by type. So these are all Terraskin pieces, and then these are all, what's this? This is smooth Bristol. This is watercolor mixed media with a rough texture. These are little ATCs size journal pages. Okay, and I've already punched them so they can be bound if need be. I have a little video on an ATC journal using these, and this is smooth watercolor paper. So I cut everything up and I put it into a little plastic container. Then you have to prep everything. So when prepping, I do this all at once. I prep everything at once with gesso because it can get messy. In the videos, it looks like I just do them one at a time, but I don't. I lay everything out on my unstick art and craft sheet, and I just gesso. Now, when I gesso these, I wear gloves because I do this very, very quickly, and then the gesso ends up on the gloves, and it creates a bit of a tackiness, which holds the card in place. I'll do all the fronts, let them dry, then I'll do all the backs. But I still keep things separate. So some of them I'll have them prepped front and back in one container. Then in another container I'll have just the fronts that are prepped, and then another container unprepped, because sometimes I'll want to do some experiments on unprepped sides and not put paint everywhere. So there's the corrugated cardboard prepped, and this I could leave open. I'll end up prepping the back, or this is where you can write, you know, your ATC if you're in a swap, write some information about it. So gesso. You don't have gesso? Use paint. Just make sure you put something that's as matte of a finish as possible. That way, when you glue stuff on, or when you do more painting, it'll at least stick. And these are ones that I cut up from existing designs. You can cut up existing artwork. So for the book of backgrounds, a lot of the pieces I am going to, well, not a lot, a few of the pieces I'm going to cut up into ATCs. So take existing artwork and just cut it up. These are demos that I did for with a webinar I did, how to use distress crayons, watercolor crayons, gelatos, and all that stuff. It was a single sheet, and then I cut everything up into small pieces. And although there is writing on here, you just cover it up with a little bit of gesso and you let some of the elements show through. So upcycle existing art. Okay, that's what all these are. Okay, and whoops, and. Okay, this is a demo I'm actually going to be doing, how to take one of the demo pieces and create something like that. And so these are all from that webinar. And then, so these are just more pieces. These are some of the pieces from that webinar. Like these, I just added gesso to them with a palette knife, then a brush. Some of the stuff showed through. Doesn't matter because you can collage over it. It doesn't matter. Look at the texture in that one. Ooh, love that. That actually doesn't belong there. Okay. So take whatever you have in your home. You don't have any watercolor paper, cardboard, or whatever. Go into your cupboard and find some type of packaging for food. Use that. Cereal box, garbage bag boxes. I could pretty well guarantee you've got something in your home. No, I can guarantee you have something in your home that you can cut up into 2.5 by 3.5 to make an ATC. I guarantee it. And then from there, what you can do, so this is a piece of scrapbook paper. Add a little bit of gesso. Look at that, isn't that beautiful? So you can put a little bit of gesso on that, as thick or as thin as you want. You can also take some scrapbook paper and then just glue it onto some cardstock to make it a little bit thicker, because this is pretty thin. This is thin, but the minute you add gesso to it, it adds some substance. But if you didn't want to use gesso and your actual scrapbook paper or collage material was a focal piece, then you can actually glue it onto some cardstock. Use double-sided tape or something like that to do some collage, or some matte medium, and you can use that. Another thing you can do for thinner pieces is actually collage text onto it. You can collage newspaper, magazine cut prints. This is from a dictionary, and I actually picked out the word beautiful as my focal piece here. And then these make great little backgrounds for your ATCs as well. This is an upcycled piece from one of the Book of Backgrounds 2016 pieces I did. I ended up cutting it, and this leftover piece works out really, really great. Just barely ATC sized, so that'll work. So your existing artwork, and then you can cut it up. Instant background. So you have your ATCs cut up, you have them prepped, some with gesso, some without gesso. Now what do? This is where you start experimenting. And just to give you, and these are all pieces that I started experimenting with. These are not finished, but all experiments that I've done. Why is that here? These don't belong here. These are actually pieces I did for Book of Backgrounds. They don't belong here. So this is what I'm about using with cheesecloth. They don't belong in there. So these are pieces that I did in the Book of Backgrounds, experimenting, cut up the pieces. This is experiments I was doing with modeling paste, wax metallics, okay, on little cards. So pieces like this and primed pieces and that, I just experiment and experimenting with metallics to resist, more paste. I was experimenting with gelatos and watercolor mediums and, you know, just experiment and then cut the pieces up. Crackle, distressing, text print. This was an experiment on how thick I could make the piece. This was a piece of the scrapbook. It's like decorative paper, so it's not the heavy stuff. It's probably it's heavier than, I think it's probably maybe 32 pounds. So it's heavier than, it's not as thick as photo paper, but thicker than bond paper. And then I added some stamped collage tissue on one side and then dictionary print on the other side. And now it's really, really thick. So this is the Deco Art, their new line of their decoupage paper. I was experimenting, gluing it on cards. This is gluing it on mixed media paper. Another one, just taking some collage tissue. This is stuff that I made, tissue prints. Glue it onto some, this is scrapbook paper, it's glued on. Take, let's see, this is cardstock with stamped tissue and book paper and more stamping. So you just collage, paint, collage, paint, collage, paint. This is scrapbook paper with sewing patterns on them. This is scrapbook paper. Yeah, this is scrapbook paper with the translucent part of the sewing paper on top. Sewing paper with book prints. So you just collage and paint, collage and paint. I was experimenting with texture Fiero, so just put that on there. These are some gelatin prints I did. These are older. These are 2013 pieces. These are all pieces I use for demos. Gelatin prints, gelatin prints, gelatin prints. Now these are just plain, this is just plain scrapbook paper, and I just applied a medium to the back to thicken them up as an experiment. Okay, this is from an old journal that I cut up. It got damaged, so I thought, well, I'll cut up the pages and use that. Okay, this is where I was testing some embossing plates. Makes for a great background. This is cardstock. I have no idea where this is from. No, this is actually a piece of cardstock. I don't know what it's from. Packaging, obviously. Love the look. Watercolor paper journals. That's cut up. I was experimenting with texture Fiero. Experimenting with texture Fiero on a stencil. Christmas scrapbook paper. I bought a pad just to make 3 Christmas cards. I'm not a fan of, you know, this type of stuff, but makes for great backgrounds. This is Steampunk Botanicals scrapbook paper. I'm not really a fan of anything manufactured. I like making stuff myself, but it makes for great backgrounds. Love that. Let's see. This is a newspaper collage with tissue and book paper that I edged, and then I put decoupage medium on that. This is scrapbook paper. This is just plain cardstock that I pre-stamped with an ATC stamp. You don't have to use a stamp. No, I printed this on the computer, on the cardstock. And then more scrapbook paper. And let's see. So you can use anything. More scrapbook paper. Not a fan of this stuff. This is not my style at all. You guys should know that by now. But makes for great backgrounds. Okay. This came with a binder that I bought. And then just experiments using distress ink pads to create backgrounds, throwing in some gesso. Okay, so you can see how easy it is just to take something and just, you know, use stuff that's already printed if you don't have any ideas. So you have your cardstock, you have your ATC substrate. Okay, ATC substrate primed with gesso. You can take existing artwork and cut it up into ATC sizes. Okay? And then from there, what you do, I got 2 piles to show you. And then from there, this is where you, usually there's a theme with an ATC. This was a numbers theme, so this was a very, very rough, abstracty type of thing. This was one of my early ATCs. I took a piece of artwork, upcycled it into something else. This is a project I just created for the studio.artplace.ca. 2 little ATCs, super thick, very, very thick. Simply with paper, paint, collage, and a stamp, and then some liquid glass. Very simple ATC using just paint and stencil. Then you can take some collage and collage something else on top, use some little embellishments. Okay, so similar, very similar to a piece like this. Just taking your ATC, and this was an upcycled piece of art, the one in the back. Collage some text paper on it, and then, you know, throw in a little bit of paint. A photo from a printable from the internet. I went to a website. What is it? Graphics Fairy, I think. I think it was Graphics Fairy. Had some really cute stuff. Cut the photo out. Put some crackle medium on there. Printed out some text with typewriter font style with this ring. Ivy Wed. It was a wedding theme. Buttons. Okay. Then this one here. This was an interesting one. So this one here is Terra Skin. And I believe the back I just dipped in paint, and then Texture Fiero, where I actually created a little painting, and there's a clock here with a rhinestone, magical. And this one here, this I have on my YouTube channel, how I made these ones, Under the Rain, and it's raining cats and dogs. So let's see. This is heavy duty stock with text collaged, stamp, and some type of, this is not liquid glass. That's a new product. I'm trying to think of what that is. You have to check the video. And just collage some text. Very, very simple. Okay. Now these are some ATCs that I've received from people. I just pulled out a few. Okay. So let's see. Cardstock. This is from Donna. Cardstock with, I believe, a stamp. Cut out magazines and some writing. Little Christmas one. Now when you do little Christmas ones, this is from Holly, with a lot of glitter, you can get these little bags to put them in. And this Susan, so cardstock, collaged on, photo, sentiment, and quote, and then little hearts, really, really cute. Okay, scrapbook paper, or you can buy, you know, pads of scrapbook paper, glitter. And then this one here, love this. And then this is a piece from Connie, and cardstock with a stamp. Little things here, embellishments, including a little matching tag into a nice little bag. And there's another one, same type of thing. Then you've got really thick ones. This is from Lisa, with a lot of embellishments on this one. So nice clock. This is a little wood piece, I think, and some die cuts on scrapbook paper. Oops. Get happen in there. And this is another one. This went into a little trading card thing, little watercolor with some sketches. This is craft paper or cardstock. And this is some collage material on it with a little embellishment. This one I love. This is from Raven. I love this. I put a theme out for an ATC journal. So I provided the picture, and the people had to create a little ATC journal out of that. Love what she did. Love what she did with that. And here's one from Carol. Little collage piece. Little flowers. Under the rain lies new life. Okay, so using photo pop dots, I guess, or the sticky mat to raise stuff. Love that. That's from Susan. And this is from Judy. Love this. So what she did is she took, this looks like it's packaging, then collaged a little beautiful Zen theme graphic here, and then a piece of packaging through a big shot with embossing plates. A little Brad. Love that. Okay, so you can see that everybody has their own style. I love how simple is this. I absolutely love it. This is from Jimmy. I think, where did we hook up for this? We only hooked up once, and I'm trying to think of what swap it was for. I don't remember. But cardstock. This looks like there's a tissue, maybe magazine here, text. Collage some text here with, remember these Dymo tape things? I love these. Little Christmas one. Okay, very simple but just beautiful. Here's another one, and then this one here. So you can tell everybody's got their own style. And the one thing you really just need to keep in mind is when you're creating your ATCs, the thicker they are, like for this, it might cost a little bit more for shipping. So for example, I know that with a flat ATC like this one here, okay, as long as it's thin thick, just go into a regular envelope. So I would take an envelope and then fold the envelope in half and then tape it on all sides and put your ATC in that. And that way your envelope will only end up being about this big. It's the cost of a postage stamp. So think of it, as long as it's no bigger than a greeting card, it's a postage stamp. Something thicker like this will cost, I know in Canada it will cost more because of the weight and the thickness. Okay, I have an actual acrylic template from Canada Post that has slots, and if I can put it in this slot, because the slots are pre-measured, it'll cost this much, and this slot this much, and then weight. So I know that this one here would be the cost of 2 postage stamps for me. So just remember that. So the thicker will bring you some extra funds for shipping, but there's no reason why you can't make a flat ATC just by using paint. This would be the cost of a postage stamp to ship. Okay, but this here would probably be the same cost of a postage stamp. It's still flat. These ones here, okay, I could still get away with a postage stamp because they're not wood. It's paper based, so it's not very heavy. This here, not quite sure, because there are these little beautiful little embellishments here. So I still might be able to get away with just a postage stamp on that. So keep that in mind when you're creating your ATCs. Okay, and then on the back, you want to write down the name of the swap, the date, and then your name. Okay, and some people just handwrite it, and some people print it, and some people print, and then have labels printed out. I have an actual stamp that I use for mine. This is actually printed, and I just printed cardstock, then glued the ATC onto cardstock. But I do have seriously. Okay, well, I do have a stamp. Of course I don't have it handy for you. But the stamp basically it's just for that, just for ATCs. You don't need to go out and buy a stamp for that. Just as long as you write the name of the swap, the date. Guidelines are always posted with a challenge or a swap, so you won't be left wondering what to do. Now stuff like this, because I wrap the cheesecloth right around, I would take another piece of a tag or something really nice, and I would collage that onto the back. I'm not going to try to write on this. I would actually just collage similar to that. So a little piece of collage material on the back, a label. Okay, so at least the person knows who it came from. And then when you cut up all your ATCs, and you'll have some small little bits left over. And then you can create what I call minis. So cutting up my papers. Oh, let me just reach over. Cut up all my papers. I have little bits like this left over, and I gesso both sides, and then again do it as a binge. And just to show you one of my drying racks, okay, this is the LCBO paper. This would need to be collaged with something thicker. Chipboard or the corrugated cardboard packaging, and you can see how this would come in handy for an actual background. So cut up all the little leftover pieces into different shapes. Gesso both sides. I'll have to put that over here. Gesso both sides, and then you can create artwork on these as well. And then so that way nothing goes to waste. Okay, and you could think these could make great ATCs as well. Like this, how I created these, you could any size, any of the artwork that I show you guys for lessons. Unless I specifically say it must be 10 by 10, you can use for any size if you want. So, take your stock, printed tissue, some paint, some ink, a stamp, all these different things. Okay, so nothing goes to waste. And these you can actually use on an actual ATC as well. You can use it as an embellishment. So put your sentiment or use these little pieces and you can write your ATC swap, the date, your name, and it can go on the back. Okay, so nothing goes to waste. And these I have in a container as well. All right, so, and finally, how to display your ATCs. I made this. This is using the art system from Staples, and then I just punched a bunch of the papers, and a lot of the ATCs I'm not going to display for privacy reasons, but because of the names. And sometimes the ATCs, depending on the swap, are not really appropriate for camera use because of the subject matter. Art is subjective, but we do have some young people as part of our tribe, so we are careful. And I just display them. You can display them any way you want. But this is just folded paper, and just using the arc system, you get the discs, and there's the hole punch, the punch machine. And then just put all these in here. And they look really, really pretty on display. That way your ATCs are kept safe. And ones that are important, you want to put them into little plastic bags. You can go to Amazon, or I'm not sure where to buy that stuff. I get my stuff from a commercial packaging company downtown Hamilton. So there we go. So that's how I have my ATCs displayed. All right, so I hope that gave you some ideas of basically how to get started with the ATCs. So thing to remember, they don't have to be perfect. Okay, they don't have to be perfect. Cardstock, scrapbook paper, existing artwork, just cut it up so nothing goes in the garbage. And use what you have. For any of the ATC swaps that we're going to do, very rarely am I going to say you have to go out and buy this and this and this. No, we use what we have in stock. We don't have to go out and buy. If you want to go out and buy something for it, that's completely up to you. Okay? So I hope that this was enough information to help you get started. So to prepare for the swap, just go through your... Now, I'm assuming that you've never done an ATC before. So for those that have done ATCs, you know what to do. We're going to be launching... our first swap, so you don't know the theme yet. But for the ones that have never done the ATCs, what you're going to do, go through your home, find anything you can use as packaging, or look for packaging boxes, a cardboard, back of watercolor paper. Look at if you have art supplies that can use something for packaging. For example, here's another one. I'm just looking at this now. So this is a Deco Art stencil, and the packaging. So this makes for great ATC substrates. Really, really, really nice. Okay, so find stuff, cut it up into 2.5 by 3.5. And if this is your first swap, prep both sides with gesso or a matte white acrylic paint just to base it. Okay, and then gather some supplies. So gather something to collage with, something to paint with, and some embellishments. We're going to keep our first swap very, very simple. Okay, but there is going to be a theme. So there you go, guys. Are you ready? I know I'm ready. I'm going to be excited. So for the actual first swap, when I launch everything, I am going to do a little video geared towards people who have never done an ATC before, how I'm going to make the ATC for the swap. And I'll be making probably about 6 of them to show you how to make a series. All right. So hope to see you in that video. And until then, stay inspired.